There's this video I watched, and it's really very, very, very interesting. So if you don't wonder since for Nigeria, say, okay, why it be like say this light issue, they never fit settle am after how many years and how many presidents when don't come and go. Everything just still remain the same. Nothing change. This video I won't play for now, so he explain everything we need to know. Whether the country is really moving forward or they just dey where dem dey or they are even moving backward. Una know say of recent, think like last year also, they bring this thing wey they call ban A, ban B, ban C. So some side come begin dey get light, you understand? So the side wey dey get light come dey hala say yes, the government is working. We now have almost 24 hours light, this and that. Nothing change o. Nothing change at all. And we cannot talk too much. This Nick Agule, energy expert. Indeed, that guy na energy expert. If you watch this video finish and you not still understand wetin dey sup for this country, na be say he on a long thing. This man explain everything, he break am down. Even when Rufai try to stop him for a comparison, this and that, a whole Rufai he not see question even answer am again, because he break am down. In short, he lecture Abati, he lecture Ayo, he lecture Rufai. In fact, even me when they will talk like this, na because say he lecture me, that's why I say okay, make I come plan for now too, so that I go hear wetin really dey happen for this industry of energy supply. This guy break this thing down to the extent say he even use 1,000 kilowatts for example, that even though they generate 1,000 kilowatts, because of the old infrastructure when they for ground, that 1,000 kilowatt, it will not even leave the place it was generated from. About like 700, I go come off for there before you can go back to Kajiram. Where it explain Asha. Then from there again, waiting go fit still move from that place because of this same old infrastructure when they ground. Now like 500. Then sending the 500 to the distributor to move to the market. The distributor self, because of the old facility when they get, they cannot even collect the whole of the 500. They will only collect maybe like 350 and send back 150. Inside that 350 when distributor collects, so the current enter market. Not only like 160, now it will be the money when they recover. The rest now for people when use when not pay. So at the end of the day, the energy problem, they don't even solve them. They don't even touch anything concerning this energy problem that we are facing in Nigeria. And last year, December, there was no light in a lot of places. I was wondering, what is happening? What happened to light? This and that. They keep telling us story. They will not come out and tell us the truth. But at the end of the day, when the Minister of Power now come out and say something, he will come to talk like say maybe we don't understand. How we want to understand if we not come out and explain the right thing give us? But just thank God say this Nick Agule really come and say he break everything down, and I understand. I know say you say will understand. So watch this video. I will see you in my next video.
Directive from the president that states share electricity bill payments with the federal government is Nick Agule, an energy expert. Good morning, and you're most welcome to the morning show.
Good morning in the studio in Lagos, and good morning to our viewers globally. I'm happy to be here.
Great to have you, sir.
Okay, Nick Agule. Well, I mean, I don't have a problem with the president saying that state governments have to take part of the electricity bill. That's the removal of the payment of subsidy on electricity. After all, we have the Electricity Act 2024, which now gives states powers to be involved in the generation, transmission, management of the electricity sector. I think that's the core point. So with authority should come responsibility. And I believe that the president is right in this particular regard. Bedudu states have the capacity, the resources? That may be the question. Do you agree with my own reading, or you think that there are other issues that are involved in this? Otherwise, within the principle in the Electricity Act 2024, it will look like the federal government is right, but are the states capable?
Thank you very much, Dr. Abati. I agree with you. I align my views with you to say that now that the states, through the Electricity Act that was signed in 2023 by President Tinubu, have a responsibility to create electricity markets in their domains, they should also come to the table about this subsidy matter. And it should not only be states, it should be the local governments as well. So this should be a subsidy that is charged to as like a first-line charge on the federation account. However, the government seems to be solving the symptoms, which is deal with the accumulated debt in the electricity sector over time, instead of attacking the cause. Because we need to ask the question, what is causing this debt? What is actually happening that we now hear that Gencos are owed 4 trillion naira, and we have a subsidy of 1.2 trillion naira in the MTEF document for 2026-2028. Why so? Why is the government not subsidizing the telecom services, for instance? And that is where the question is. That's the real issue. If I can demonstrate to our viewers what is actually happening in the electricity sector, if you give me a minute, I'll do that. Assuming the power station in Egbin generates 1,000 megawatts of electricity. The 1,000 megawatts of electricity does not end up in the market. And what is the reason for that? Maybe 300 megawatts is not evacuated out of Egbin. It is totally stranded at the power station. What is the reason for that? Because there's no transmission capacity to carry it. Now, 700 megawatts makes it into the grid. That is transmission. And by the time the grid transports that 700 megawatts to Abuja, where I am speaking from, to sell in the market, maybe only 500 megawatts arrived. What happened to 200 megawatts? They are lost because of bad infrastructure, aging equipment, and all of that. That's what you call technical losses, gone because of the equipment. Then 500 megawatts arrives in Abuja. The Abuja Distribution Company, that is AEDC, quickly rejects 150 megawatts. They were not taking it. Why are they not taking 150 megawatts? Because they have not invested to expand the distribution network to be able to take all of the 500 megawatts that have come from Egbin. Now the 350 megawatts that they now take, they now put it in the market. When they put it in the market, they are only able to build 250 megawatts. What happened to the 100 megawatts? The 100 megawatts is either stolen or it is lost through a poor distribution network again. So that is what you call the commercial losses. Then the 250 megawatts that has been built, the bill sent to consumers, maybe only 160 megawatts have been paid into the bank. What happened to the 90 megawatts? The 90 megawatts are customers who have refused to pay their bills. Now, 1,000 megawatts were generated in Egbin. Only 160 megawatts is money in the bank. The difference is what is causing this problem. That's where the debt is coming from. So even if President Tinubu solves the accumulated debt now, because the fundamental structural issues in the power sector have not been sorted, the debt will continue to come. Egbin will continue to generate 1,000 megawatts and only 160 megawatts will enter into the bank account. How are we going to solve the problem? The answer is simple. President Jonathan in 2013 privatized the electricity sector. But he did it in a very bad way, and that's what is causing this problem. What did he do? He privatized the generating companies and privatized the distribution companies. But he did not do anything with the transmission company. Initially, they gave it to Manitoba in Canada, and then they took it back into government coffers. So that transmission bottleneck, because the government does not have money to modernize and expand the transmission capacity, is responsible for the first 300 megawatts that did not even leave again. It is also responsible for the 200 megawatts that were lost through the transmission grid. And Nigerians are made to pay for that. That is the cost of the high tariff that we are paying. And then it comes to the distribution company in Abuja. The disco licenses were awarded to companies that have no known history in the power sector. They have no experience, they have no managerial capacity, they have no technical capacity, they have no financial capacity. They scrambled for these licenses, and they don't have the money to invest. How can they be waiting to take money from tariffs to invest? Nobody does that. Because if you look at the telecoms, for instance, when the MTNs and co got the licenses, they first brought in their capital, either equity or debt capital, and put in over $100 billion first, before they now started providing telecom services to Nigeria, who are talking and paying them back. How much have the operators in the power sector put in? They haven't put in anything. And Nigerians are just being strangulated with habits. There's something I will say now that will shock Nigerians before I give away. I pay for electricity in the United Kingdom, where I have a home. I pay for electricity in Nigeria, where I have a home. I'm paying far more for electricity in this Abuja than I pay in London. And yet in London, I get 247, 365 electricity non-stop.
That's interesting. That's interesting, but based on your experience as to paying, because I know that utility bills in the UK is quite expensive. But let me ask you a question around the state's capacity to pay. Now, this move by the federal government is to address, the debts and well, not just legacy debts, but ensuring that the states take responsibility and maybe might also begin to push for cost-reflective tariff. But in the interim, do the states have capacity to pay, or would it further make the problem worse for these companies who are already being owed in large sums? Because only in 2024, there was a report around 20 states owing electricity bill, and not being able to pay up. So what is the capacity, and would it not just further exacerbate the challenges?
Thank you so very much, Ayo. First and foremost, I have done the analysis. I can share it with you offline, because minimum wage in Nigeria can only attract 350 units of electricity on band A, whereas we attract a minimum wage in the UK, we attract 7,500 units of electricity. So the Nigerian consumer is worse off even at that level. So coming to the state's capacity to pay, the states won't have capacity to pay. Yes, the states are drawing more from the federation account, but this subsidy, this so-called subsidy, first and foremost, let me say that there is no need for this subsidy. If the President Tinubu's government goes back to that flawed privatization process in 2013 and fixes it, there will be no need for subsidy in the electricity sector. We are not paying subsidy in telecoms. That's the same thing that will happen, because telecoms was done well, was given to competent people, and they are now giving us telephone services at far cheaper rate than NITE was giving us. So,
not really.
So the states, okay, yes.
Not really. Electricity sector and telecoms is quite different. The infrastructure input cost in the electricity sector and telecom setup cost is very different. So I don't like it when we make the analogy of, oh, we got telecoms right. Electricity is different. You have a far more threshold of investment in electricity than telecoms. So let's not make that comparison. The point I wanted to finish up your point, but I just needed to address that comparison. Finish up your point. I think it's not a fair comparison.
Okay, so I was coming to... thank you, Rufai. I hear people say this thing, that telecoms is different from electricity. The way I see it, these are two services that need investment, infrastructure, and then services. That's the sequence. You put in money, you expand the infrastructure, and then get the services done. In telecoms, the Nigerian government company called Nitel, they were receiving budgetary allocations, but they were not putting the infrastructure in place. So they were only able to provide 500,000 active lines to Nigerians. But when the MTNs and Co came in, with their $100 billion put in, they expanded telephone availability to over 220 million lines today. So even at a lower tariff, they are making far more money than what Nitel was doing. The same thing will happen in electricity. If we go back and fix that flawed privatization of 2013 and competent operators take over this sector, they will bring in their money and put into the sector, expand our output from the measly 5,000 megawatts to probably 50,000 megawatts. And at 50,000 megawatts, Rufai, even at a fraction of the current tariff, there will still be liquidity in the sector. So nobody will be talking about illiquidity. So to land on the states, I say that the states will not afford this because, number one, it was not part of their budgetary provisions. They didn't expect that this kind of bill will be landed on their table. So the federal government should just take steps to ensure that we should fix the privatization so that this issue of subsidy will not arise. I like the point that Dr. Abati made at the beginning. If the states are now being faced with this heavy bill, let it now be a trigger for them to go back to their states and start creating their own electricity market. Many states have not done anything with the Electricity Act. They've done nothing.
Okay.
So this now should be a painful reality for them to